The city of Zhengzhou, in the heart of Henan province, sits nestled beside the tranquil Hoa Le River. A river whose very name, graceful flower, evokes images of serene beauty and quiet mystery. Yet, on the crisp morning of August 8, 2012, this peaceful tableau was shattered by a discovery that would send shivers down the spines of its residents. At precisely 10 a.m., a sanitation worker, diligently clearing debris from the riverbanks, noticed an unassuming plastic bag bobbing gently on the water's surface. Curiosity, that irresistible human trait, compelled him to retrieve it. He imagined it might contain something lost and valuable, perhaps even forgotten treasures. But as he slit a small opening, a putrid stench, overwhelming and nauseating, assaulted his senses, almost knocking him unconscious. He recoiled, ready to discard what he assumed was mere refuse, when a horrifying sight materialized. The disembodied head of a woman, with long, dark hair, emerged from the bag. The horror of it all, if it had been night, might have sent him toppling into the river himself. Shaken, but regaining his composure, he immediately dialed the police. The authorities arrived swiftly, their sirens echoing through the newly developed riverside district. A thorough search of the surrounding area yielded nothing. Undeterred, they began to excavate the riverbed, hoping to unearth more of the unfortunate woman's remains. One officer later recounted the chilling details of the discovery. The outermost layer of the bag was a common plastic refuse sack, yet inside lay a smaller bag containing a phone cord, and within that, a floral dress. Finally, the head itself was revealed, its features so disfigured that recognition was impossible. Her hair, decomposed by the water, fell away like autumn leaves at the slightest touch. Forensic pathologists meticulously examined the severed head, concluding that the woman had been decapitated with a sharp weapon. This was no accident, it was a brutally savage murder. A massive police operation was launched, officers scouring every inch of the Hoa Le River, yet no further evidence came to light. Who was this woman? What unspeakable horror had befallen her? And where were the rest of her remains? The police had only the head to guide them. Through skull analysis, forensic experts determined the victim was a young woman, likely between 20 and 30 years old, who took great care of her appearance. A distinct scar on her chin indicated prior cosmetic surgery, and she was missing a tooth. Initial findings suggested asphyxiation as the cause of death, occurring approximately 5 days prior to the discovery. The decapitation, it was determined, happened post-mortem. Investigators theorized that the perpetrator had placed a stone in the bag to sink it. However, the summer heat and the prolonged immersion led to rapid decomposition, generating gases that caused the bag to resurface. It was like a balloon inflated, pushing its way to the surface despite any weight. With only the head, these were the limited clues available. The crucial next step was identifying the victim, which would then provide a concrete direction for the investigation. A comprehensive search for recent missing persons in Zhengzhou was launched, but yielded no matches. The plastic bag itself, a common, freely given market bag, offered no useful leads. Yet, the police refused to give up. They revisited the detail of the victim's chin scar, speculating she might have undergone surgery at a local beauty clinic. This avenue, too, proved fruitless. The trail went cold. Despair began to creep in as the case remained unsolved, and public discontent swelled. The gruesome murder became the talk of Zhengzhou streets and alleys, with many openly criticizing the police's perceived inefficiency. The pressure mounted. Their reputation, and public trust, hung in the balance. In a desperate bid for a breakthrough, they offered a reward of 10,000 yuan, over 30 million VND, for any useful information, promising strict confidentiality to informants. A deluge of calls followed, but most were irrelevant. Just as hope began to wane, a pivotal call reignited their spirits. The caller introduced himself as Old Lu, claiming the victim might be his ex-girlfriend. He described a woman with a similar floral dress, who worked in a shop and was missing a tooth. The details were eerily precise, matching 90% of the autopsy findings. The police rushed to Old Lu's residence. Old Lu identified his ex-girlfriend as Kim Tieu Phung, a 26 or 27-year-old woman from Henan, who worked as a prostitute. She frequented a brothel and also worked at a hair and beauty salon. Their relationship began when Old Lu was a client at the brothel, and eventually, Tieu Phung moved in with him. However, Old Lu grew tired of sharing her with others, feeling like a puppet in her hands. Endless arguments led to their mutual decision to part ways. Yet, Old Lu found himself longing for her, unable to forget the techniques she had taught him. He would occasionally seek her out to revisit old lessons, and they would exchange knowledge and practice together. Days before the discovery, he had tried to contact her but received no answer. When he saw the police news report, a sense of dread washed over him, leading him to believe Tieu Phung might have met with foul play. Armed with this critical information, the police immediately began investigating Tieu Phung's social circle, focusing on the flower shop on Nanyang Road where she worked. Her profession, however, meant a complex web of connections, making the investigation more challenging. At the shop, colleagues confirmed Tieu Phung's absence for several days, all calls going unanswered. Before her disappearance, she had been living with a tall, thin young man, approximately 25 years old. The shop owner revealed that after Tieu Phung vanished, this man also disappeared as if he had simply vanished with her. This man became the prime suspect. Who was this man, and how was he connected to Tieu Phung's death? The police initiated surveillance. From a hidden vantage point, they watched the four-story building where Tieu Phung lived, a seemingly ordinary structure that held the key to many secrets. As they observed, a man descended the stairs. Old Lu, with a quick glance, instantly recognized him as Tieu Phung's current boyfriend and alerted the police. The officers were perplexed. The man's gentle demeanor didn't fit the profile of a killer. Surely, if he were the culprit, he would have fled. Could it be that he wasn't the murderer, or that the victim wasn't Tieu Phung after all? They split into two teams. One continued to shadow the boyfriend, observing his movements, while the other, including forensic technicians, obtained the landlord's key and entered Tieu Phung's apartment. The discovery in the bathroom sent chills down their spines: copious amounts of blood. Samples were collected and, when compared to the head found in the river, the match was undeniable. It was Tieu Phung. Tieu Phung's current boyfriend was now definitively the prime suspect. He was apprehended swiftly, showing no resistance. During interrogation, he was identified as Qi Longdong, 26, from Yancheng, Jiangsu province. The flower shop owner also confirmed his frequent visits to Tieu Phung. What led to this gruesome end between Qi Longdong and Kim Tieu Phung? Why would a boyfriend commit such a heinous act, dismembering his lover? Qi Longdong confessed his story. He was born into a poor fishing family in Yancheng, Jiangsu. At 26, he had never had a girlfriend, as no one would willingly choose a poor man. 2 years prior, he moved to Zhengzhou with a fellow villager and began working as a carpenter. Business prospered, and his newfound wealth brought a measure of comfort. Like many men with money, he began to indulge in pleasures he could only dream of when poor. One day, he visited the flower shop with a colleague, as was his custom. There, he met Kim Tieu Phung. Captivated by her beauty and figure, he initiated a conversation. They clicked instantly, their connection feeling like an old friendship blossoming into something more. From that day forward, Qi Longdong spent every spare moment at the flower shop, socializing and growing closer to Tieu Phung. These were the happiest days of his life. He felt truly loved for the first time. As their relationship deepened, he yearned for more than just a casual affair. He wanted her by his side forever. He implored her to leave her profession and live with him. Tieu Phung agreed to live together but refused to abandon her work. They moved in, but as time passed, Tieu Phung continued her prostitution. Qi Longdong felt powerless, a helpless observer. This frustration ignited conflicts between them. He demanded that Kim Tieu Phung quit her job at the flower shop and let him support her. She simply laughed, stating she couldn't give up an income of 60 million for his meager 10 million. Initially, he believed she would eventually reduce her workload, but to his dismay, she pushed the boundaries even further. Despite having a boyfriend, Tieu Phung showed no restraint, no respect for their relationship. She would readily approach any man with money, completely disregarding Qi Longdong's warnings. Not only did she refuse to quit her profession, but she also started spending nights with clients. On multiple occasions, he found her gone for the entire night. He warned her repeatedly, but Kim Tieu Phung remained indifferent, as if deaf to his pleas. On August 3, Qi Longdong returned home to find Kim Tieu Phung absent. Enraged, he stormed to the flower shop and found her with a client. In a fit of fury, he smashed the door and dragged her home. The arguments continued throughout the journey. Once home, Qi Longdong attempted to calm himself, embracing Kim Tieu Phung, hoping to reconcile. But Kim Tieu Phung, having lost a crucial client, was even more furious. She rejected his attempts at reconciliation and, in her anger, struck him. Qi Longdong felt utterly humiliated. He had humbled himself for her, only to be verbally abused and physically assaulted. He could take no more. Grabbing a broom, he pushed Kim Tieu Phung onto the bed and began to strangle her. At that moment, he hadn't fully lost his mind to murder, he was simply overwhelmed with anger. He had pleaded with her countless times, forgiven her countless nights of absence, and now she was verbally assaulting him. Would anyone remain calm in such a situation? However, Kim Tieu Phung remained oblivious to the danger. In the past, when her boyfriend was angry, he would merely scold her, only to apologize and console her later. She believed his strangulation was merely a threat, and she provocatively challenged him, "Go on, kill me. If you have the guts, strangle me to death. If not, you're not a man." These words shattered Qi Longdong's last vestiges of sanity. "You think I'm not a man?" he roared. "Let me show you whether I am a man or not." With those words, he tightened his grip on Kim Tieu Phung's neck. 2 minutes later, the once beautiful woman lay still, a rigid corpse. Qi Longdong collapsed onto the bed, consumed by panic and fear. He didn't flee, for he truly loved her. But his next actions were truly horrifying. He spent the entire night sleeping beside Kim Tieu Phung's cold body. That night, eerily, was the most peaceful sleep Qi Longdong had experienced in days. The nightmares that plagued him had vanished, leaving him in a serene slumber. The next morning, upon waking, he saw red bruises forming on Kim Tieu Phung's body. He realized he couldn't continue like this. He began to devise a plan. He bought a large suitcase, big enough to contain a human body. But when he tried to stuff the corpse inside, he found Kim Tieu Phung's body was stiff, too rigid to fit. If it wouldn't fit, he reasoned, perhaps dismembering it would be easier. He went to the kitchen, retrieved a knife, and began to dismember the body, packaging each part. The neck alone took him 30 agonizing minutes to sever. The dismemberment consumed the entire day, leaving him exhausted. He slept until 10 p.m. Then, he packed the body parts into the suitcase. He carried the suitcase to a bridge spanning the Hoa Le River. No one was around. Under the cloak of darkness, he secretly tossed Kim Tieu Phung's head into the river. He then continued on, discarding the remaining body parts in a cornfield a few miles away. His grim task complete, he returned home and slept soundly. The next day, he went to work as if nothing had happened, his life seemingly unchanged. The shocking murder and dismemberment of Kim Tieu Phung, which had rocked Zhengzhou, was finally brought to light. Police, following Qi Longdong's confession, found the remaining body parts in the cornfield. But the story, surprisingly, wasn't over. From the beginning, Qi Longdong had believed Kim Tieu Phung was a single prostitute. Then, the police delivered a crushing blow. They informed him of something that chilled him to the bone. During their investigation into Kim Tieu Phung's background, they discovered she was married and even had a child. Qi Longdong could never have imagined that the girlfriend he loved so deeply, meticulously cared for, and even gave all his money to, was in fact another man's wife, a mother to a child that wasn't his. In the end, he was the one who killed her, and only then did he receive this devastating, unimaginable truth. He was consumed by regret and self-loathing, but there is no medicine in this world that can turn back time. All that remained for him was to face the full force of the law. The brutal murder case that sent shockwaves through Henan was finally solved. A moment of rage led to a savage act against his girlfriend. While Tieu Phung's character might be questionable, the blame for this tragedy cannot rest solely on her. A normal man would not choose a prostitute as a girlfriend. If one seeks only casual encounters, then one must accept that she will not be clean and will be shared with others. And if one desires to marry such a woman, then one must truly be wealthy. Do not believe you can persuade someone to abandon their profession and be supported if you cannot provide adequately. Otherwise, the outcome will be an unending, unchanging cycle. The case has closed, and our story for today concludes here. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. Goodbye, and I look forward to seeing you in the next videos.